People seem to understand that there is an attack on family and God, but I have not been able to concisely explain it in my head until recently. Now I share my thoughts with you that you may have clarity too. First, we must consider what a ruling class of overlords wants. They want maximum wealth for themselves and their children, just as you want maximum wealth for yourself and your children. To maximize their wealth, they want as much of your wealth as possible in their hands. This means low wages for you, so that some of them can avoid giving you as much as possible so that they can keep as much as possible. Others will want to tax you as highly as possible so that your wealth finds its way to them. Others still will increase the price of rents or commodities, or whatever it may be, such that your wealth becomes theirs. The overlords achieve this by either being politicians or buying politicians, who then pass laws to suit the overlords. What does this mean for you? It means that you will be poor even if you have a job. You won't have many savings and therefore not much security. Any little disaster could wipe out your meager savings at any moment. Your quality of life will permanently rest on a razor's edge. If you are single, then you can live like this. It is not good, but it is not so bad that you cannot survive. Living like this is miserable but safe. Seeking change could bring change or ruin. Change is the less safe path, so a single person does not take it. However, as soon as affairs of the heart intrude, the person finds that he cannot live like the overlords want him to. Seeking change can bring change or ruin, but not seeking change can only bring ruin. Suppose you want a wife. Who is she going to pick for a husband? All else being equal, she will pick a man who can provide for her better than the next man. This means that the man with more resources than you could get the girl that you wanted. Now you are in a race not to be the man with the fewest resources. You need to increase your wealth somehow. Change, once the least safe path, is now the least dangerous path. So a single person seeking not to be single will take it. How do you increase wealth? Either increase your wages or cut your costs, or both. This means seeking higher wages and/or lower rent, lower taxes, etc. What you want, thanks to a woman, is precisely the opposite of what the overlords want. If you want children, then you will want even more wealth to look after them and for them to later look after you, which means even less wealth for the overlords. If enough people want family, and if the overlords are not happy to give them more wealth, then they will overrule the overlords. People will change the system such that they can get what they want, whether by violent revolution or by electing a sympathetic government. Wanting family is a threat to the overlords, so they must counter the threat. They must attack the family, or rather the desire for family. The attack comes on different fronts: children, marriage, and romance. Children and the having thereof is attacked. Contraception and abortion are pushed to limit the number of children, and the number of people with children, and the number of children that people have. People with no children require less than those with children, and those with few children need less than those with many. The less that people need, the less that they will challenge the system, and the better for the overlords. Those people still want wealth, but not as much, and that leaves more for the overlords. Before we get as far as children, marriage and the getting thereof is attacked. Women push men to push for more resources, take away the women, and the overlords take away the push. Marriage is for life, so it requires lots of security as well as wealth. If the overlords can fix it such that marriage has a moderate probability of failing, and will ruin your life if it does, then only the most confident will proceed with it. Divorce is made easy to start and expensive to finish, like leaping from a tall building. This leaves fewer people who will push for marriage, push for changing the system, or who will threaten the overlords. Before we get as far as people who want to get married but are too frightened, what about making people not want to get married at all? Feminism is pushed to make women feel like they must rely on themselves only for security and not be beholden to a man. This will delay their marriage, possibly forever. Delaying marriage delays when a person can be a threat to the overlords. Of course, attacking marriage directly will have the bonus of indirectly attacking children, because many women will not want children without a man to provide for them. Limit marriage and you limit children. Feminism will have the bonus of indirectly attacking children by delaying both marriage and the having of children. Feminism can also be used to attack the having of children. Before we get as far as marriage, romance is attacked. Promiscuity is encouraged. Changing the system, building up wealth takes time. If the wealth is being built up for someone, then why build it if that someone is no longer around? Promiscuity means that one need not wait for long, so some will not. If a certain number of people will not wait for the other to build up wealth, then a certain number of others will not bother building up the wealth. This reduces the number of people challenging the system, and this is good for the overlords. Pornography is encouraged. Sexual desires can be fulfilled without even having a girlfriend. A certain number of single people will not even seek not to be single. This is good for the overlords. Attacking romance has the advantages of indirectly attacking both marriage and children. As the concerted efforts above take effect, more single people are created. These people can live on less, so those not single are forced to compete with the single people, and therefore live on less too. The overlords can then increase costs and lower wages according to their plan. As people get poorer, this creates more single people. More men become too poor to attract a wife, to have a family, etc. It is a cycle. More single people can live on less, which sets the bar for where everyone else must live, which creates more poor people for whom the single life is more affordable, etc. If the cycle goes too far, then too many people will be too poor, and they will revolt. So the overlords will not let the poverty get too great, but they will run it right to the limit. But what about the attack on God? Where does that fit in? Well, that is another front in the attack on family. Any religion that has lasted any length of time is bound to be pro-family, or else the believers would have died out. Therefore, religions are for family, marriage, and are against promiscuity. The overlords cannot allow for religion to be powerful. A religion has people, money, and is organized. If people have to organize fun and establish their own revolt against the overlords, then that might be enough to put them off. Religions and churches save people the effort and will make revolt easier, so the overlords must attack them. Even without the people, a church could challenge the overlords directly by using its wealth to buy politicians too. The overlords cannot have that. Religions do not like homosexuality, so is that a part of it? Yes, partly as a means of attacking God and partly as a direct attack on family. Consider that homosexuals in general do not have family or children, so they are not the kind of people who challenge the overlords. They are childless people who can be depended upon never to have children, unlike childless heterosexuals. Therefore, the more homosexuals, the better. Insofar that someone can choose to be a homosexual, pushing homosexuality will produce more of them. It does not matter if it is a temporary or a permanent thing. As long as it reduces the number of people seeking a family at any one moment, then it suits the overlords. The other advantage of the homosexual for the overlords is that they can make society suit them. A heterosexual who is single might not stay single, and does not have the mindset of being single. Heterosexuals in positions of influence, for example pundits, teachers, political donors or party members, celebrities, authors, newspaper editors, etc., produce or push for a society in which heterosexuals are comfortable. The influential heterosexuals are part of society, so for them to be comfortable, heterosexuals in general must be. Therefore things like romance, marriage, and children cannot be out of bounds. Such a society is dangerous for the overlords. By the same token, homosexuals in position of influence produce or push for a society in which homosexuals are comfortable. Therefore they are less likely to defend the having of children in society. They might not even defend marriage. This suits the overlords. In a society where homosexuality is bad, there are fewer influential homosexuals. Therefore, the overlords push for homosexuality to be celebrated. I hope that this is an agreeable explanation of the attack on family and God. I hope that it helps you to explain some of the things that we see in society, and I hope that it can clarify in your mind why some things used to be and ought to be opposed or promoted. Never forget that it is all an attack on your quality of life. Why would you want to be poorer than you have to be? Why would you want your children to be poorer? I hope that this can help you be more confident in yourself as you defend family from the overlords.